Good evening. This is the Dania Beach City Commission regular meeting, Tuesday, April 9, 2019 at 7 p.m. Can you please call the roll?
Mayor Llewellyn.
Here.
Vice Mayor Odman.
Here.
Commissioner Brandemart.
Here.
Commissioner Harris.
Here.
Commissioner James.
Here.
City Manager Garcia.
Here.
City Attorney Ansbro.
Here.
Thank you.
Can you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Can we please have a moment of silence as well? Thank you. For presentations and special event approvals, our first item is a presentation of a plaque to Peter Fournier, Dania Beach Ocean Rescue Lifeguard, on his retirement after 41 years of service to the city. Can you come on up, and do we have...
Yes, we do have something for you. You know, so when I was reading the article in the Sentinel that you were retiring, I was very sad and disappointed that you were leaving us. But then I read the second part, said you were going to be spending more time with your son. Is that it? Sure. All right. All right. So I was then very, very overjoyed that after so much hard work, you were going to get to spend some more quality time with your family. I scrolled through some pictures. I found some really funny ones today of you circa 1970s in some Dania Beach lifeguard shorts, and you know you've really been out there protecting. No, I found all these pictures that they posted.
I should have brought them with you.
But how amazing that you have spent so much time dedicating yourself to safety and to the citizens, and we thank you so much, and you are going to be missed, and your service to us has been so appreciated, and we want you to know that. We have this for you here.
Why don't we bring it down?
Yeah, we should probably bring it down, but we'll come in a minute.
Wow. Well, beautiful.
Go to the microphone, please, so everybody can hear you.
Pete Fournier, 41 years, and who's counting, 6 months and 15 days on the job. But I really appreciate the city of Dania Beach. It's meant a lot to me, and it's brought memories, good, and some we won't mention, but everything's good as far as working with the city. Just the good times and camaraderie, meeting a lot of guards over the years, and as I can say right now, we have the best crew I've ever worked with. Everything's just so much more professional than the early days. It's been 5 decades, counting the 70s all the way to here, and all the rescues we do, we stay in shape. They have such a good training program right now with Mike Huck as the chief, and we have all the EMT, the paramedics, and everyone's so qualified and professional, and they run a really tight ship. And as far as the rescues and everything we've done, we've got everybody. We got everybody into shore safe for all these decades, and these guys are great working with them. What did you say, Tamara? My most cherishable moment, memorable?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, besides. It's hard to pick one, all the years and working with all the different guards, but there's one I remember the most, and it's my wife's here, so this might be a little difficult, because one day, decades ago in the 90s, I was guarding the beach at the center tower, and we have eyes in the back of our head, and I just felt something, and I turned around, and there was this beautiful brown-eyed young lady, and
Watch out.
I took a glance, and I took another glance. Our eyes met, and
Oh, you're brave.
believe it or not, yeah, I know I'm
You're
brave.
brave.
Yeah, but I married her. And I have her, and I have my son, John Paul, and he's taken up, believe it or not, he's a swimmer, water polo, and St. Thomas Aquinas, and yeah, he's going to beat Cyrus swimming here down at the beach when I bring him down. And it's just been, without Dania, none of this would ever happen. So I just want to thank the city of Dania for everything, and I'll still be around. I'll be around, and I'll make appearances. And again, thank you very much.
Thank you.
This is beautiful.
We're going to take a picture with you as well.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Can I have the family too, please? Up here in front of the podium. Camera, grab him in front of the podium.
We'll bring you right up front,
Okay.
so you don't have this in the
Okay.
background.
Yeah, there you go.
There you
John
go.
Paul on the other side, maybe? You like it there?
You'll be missed. Everybody's
Stand up
saying how
tall.
much they're going to miss you.
Oh. Thank you.
Thank you. for your
Thank you
time.
very much. Okay, yeah, appreciate it all. Thank you.
You're welcome. Our next item is city manager commendations to public services employees.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners, residents of the great city of Dania Beach, and our city team. On the evening of March 26, I received a call that one of our water main pipes had been compromised. It occurred actually in private property, but we needed to run to the rescue because there was approximately 6,000 residents of our city affected. Long story short, from 4 p.m. to 11 p.m., we had a team that were working around the clock. Many of these individuals were already working since 7 in the morning. So it was 15, 16, 17 hours of going above and beyond to get this water main fixed. And not only did they get it fixed, and by 11 p.m. we were able to turn the water back on, but they worked so carefully to ensure that our water wasn't compromised. We did testing just to be cautious, but they were working like surgeons with a scalpel around the clock to get things done. And I wanted to make sure that we just didn't put this commendation in their file, but that we actually let everyone know, let the residents know that this team really went above and beyond. And I wanted to take the time to honor these individuals today by making sure that we commended them and that this will be in their file in perpetuity, and we couldn't be in better hands. And some of them are here today. Some of them were concerned because they didn't have time to go change, because believe it or not, they were working on another challenge. So to make a long story short, I'd like to bring up these people, Rupert Crawford, Lee Drake, Darren Green, Johnny Vasquez, that are here with us today. And I'd like to give them this commendation.
Yeah, we're gonna take photos, and I'd really like it for permission to be down.
Commission, come on down. We're counting your steps. Thank you so much for everything you guys said. I totally appreciate it. You're the tall one. If we ever put a basketball team, you're going to be part of it. Dang, you're tall. I know. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you.
I'm a hugger. For your hard work. Thanks so much. And I want to get the giant a hug. I didn't get to get
Rupert.
hugger. Kill me now.
No, you won't.
Waiting on mine.
For the next commission meeting. We'll present it, and we'll present it.
I didn't get one.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Mayor Commission.
And thank them for all their hard work. Our next item is a special event request from Latanya Shorter and Josianne Paul for a beach wedding to be held near the Dania Beach Pier, 300 North Beach Road, on May 4th, 2019, from 5 a.m. till 10 a.m. The applicant is requesting seaweed to be removed the morning of the ceremony. Are there any issues?
Move the item.
Thank you. We've had the discussion with our Director of Parks and Recreation, and we're ready to roll.
Move the item.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Next item
Happy
is
wedding.
Next item is special event request from Divers Cove for the 8th annual Beach and Pier Cleanup to be held on July 13, 2019 at 300 North Beach Road from 7:30 a.m. to 12 p.m. Are there any issues?
Not at all.
Move the item.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Passes. Next item is special event request from SOL Saving Ocean Life for the Saving Ocean Life Spring Event Beach Cleanup to be held on May 19, 2019 at 300 North Beach Road from 8 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. The applicant is requesting a fee waiver. Any issues?
We support it. It's a benefit to our city.
Okay.
Move the item.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Gotta be quicker than that.
Any opposed? Any opposed? No? Okay. Next item, it was just added a request for a temporary use Isla Mirada Fish Company temporary kitchen.
If we can have Director Lefebvre come up and give us a briefing on this. The reason why it's coming to you is that it was submitted as a special event request. After much consideration, we came to the conclusion that it was not a special event, that it was more like a special usage. So, if Mark, if you could just give us an update, and we do recommend support.
Sure. Thank you, Manager. Mark LaFerrier, Community Development. This was a bit of a late arriving application, so it didn't get a complete review until just recently, but you often see a special event permit application, which is for things that we just had a minute ago, but there's also a section in the code that allows for temporary uses. In this case, that's the applicable portion of the code. They're not really asking for a special event. What they're asking for is an opportunity to close down their existing restaurant and dining room so they can remodel, and then while they're doing that, have some amount of limited menu service out in a sort of under a tent near the building. It doesn't violate any of the city's codes. It's had objections, or no objections from all of the reviewing staff, and we'll make sure that all the permits are issued. They'll have to get the approval from the Health State Department and the County Health Department before they even open. So we recommend approval of it, and we'll ensure that all of the permits and inspections are made before they open.
There will be approvals from the Department of Health before it's open, right?
Yes, there will.
Yes.
Yep.
Any issues?
Move the item.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay. All right, we have one proclamation tonight, and that is for the Humane Society of Broward County Week. Richard Goodnight, volunteer, Humane Society of Broward County, who is here, and I believe you also brought your chairman of the board. And I'm not sure which one's coming up, but the chairman of the board is Tom Bambenek. Come on up.
Good evening. Thank you for having us.
Please state your name on the record.
Sure.
please.
I'm Tom Bamnick,
And the
Chairman
address
of the Board of the Humane Society of Broward County.
located on Griffin Road, or?
Yes. We'd like to thank the City of Dania for being a good community partner with us and for proclaiming May 12th through May 18th, 2019 as Humane Society of Broward County Week to celebrate the 75 years of serving our community. The Humane Society of Broward County is proud to be celebrating 75 years of service and grateful for the support we've received since 1944 in order to ensure a humane community here in Broward County. We will continue to advocate for and improve the lives animals by providing adoptions, community services, and education. Last year, we are proud to say we found homes for almost 6,000 animals. We not only find homes for dogs and cats, but also bunnies, ferrets, hamsters, and any other mammal that the family may no longer be able to take care of. Most people are not aware of our adoptions, but are aware of the adoptions, but unaware of the other activities we're involved in, which includes kids clubs, camps, animal-assisted therapy, low-cost vaccinations, spay and neuter, positive reinforcement behavior training, surrender prevention, and so much more. We also have numerous education programs and work closely with the Boys and Girls Clubs, Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts, Women in Distress, and Junior Achievement. Thank you for supporting our efforts, and we appreciate it.
Thank you. And the proclamation, you can stay up here a minute. The proclamation reads as follows. Whereas the Humane Society of Broward County was established in 1944 and is currently celebrating its 75th anniversary at its current location in Dania Beach, Florida, where it has been located since 1953 in a 33,000 square foot completely air-conditioned shelter with the ability to house over 300 dogs, cats, rabbits, and pocket pets, providing full-time veterinarian services for shelter animals with an on-site clinic. And whereas the Humane Society of Broward County is a private, nonprofit 501c3 organization supported by donations, and whereas the Humane Society of Broward County advocates for and improves the lives of animals by providing adoptions, community services, and education, placing an average of 6,500 dogs, cats, and other furry friends into new homes annually. And whereas the Humane Society of Broward County has approximately 100,000 patrons visit each year and provides affordable spay and neuter, vaccines, and microchips for pets belonging to the public and free roaming cats. And whereas the Humane Society of Broward County offers a Canines for Community Resilience program, whereby trained dogs and their handlers provide comfort following local traumatic situations. They assist the Caribbean islands affected by natural disasters and provided food and medical services to pets of those affected by the recent government shutdown. Now, therefore, on behalf of the Dania Beach City Commission, I, Lori Llewellyn, Mayor of the City of Dania Beach, Florida, do hereby proclaim May 12, 2019 through May 18, 2019 as Humane Society of Broward County Week in the City of Dania Beach and encourage Dania Beach and surrounding communities to join in the celebration of the Humane Society's 75th anniversary and show their appreciation for everyone who works and volunteers for the Humane Society.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bring this. And I believe Jessica would like some pictures of us as well.
Going to make you all get up again?
Want to come in front?
Oh, sure. How are you doing?
Good, how are you?
I feel short now.
You know, it's like that sometimes.
My wife's 6'3", so I'm used to
Oh,
it.
well. Wait.
Yeah. Hug me? Thank you very much, guys. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Nobody signed in?
Okay, I don't have any citizen comments, but if there's anybody who'd like to speak. No one? I'm surprised. You're a citizen. Okay, public safety reports.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. I want to touch on a brief topic, the new Text 911 program that started earlier this month. It's useful for people that are deaf, hard of hearing, or cannot speak. It should be used by people only when it's not safe to call 911. Certain incidents might be locked in a trunk. Hopefully nobody ever finds themselves locked in a trunk, or even hiding from an intruder. Anytime you wouldn't want someone to hear you call 911, it's an available option. So text only when you can't call. If texting 911, provide your location and the nature of the emergency. Do not use abbreviations or emojis. At this time, the system cannot accept group texts, photos, or videos. And right now, it's only processing texts in English. So any new program, there's always little bumps on the way, but I'm sure it's only a matter of time before photos, videos, and alternate languages are accepted. And remember, only text 911 when you cannot call. We've been made aware of a scam going around where a suspect posing as an employee from Social Security will call and demand money via gift cards to avoid arrest or cancellation of services. The scam almost always involves demanding the victim drive to their bank, withdraw large sums of money, and keeps them on the phone while they do so. The suspects then demand the victims go to a store where gift cards can be purchased and load the money on the cards to be mailed to addresses out of state. A recent elderly victim who resides in Dania Beach was scammed out of $4,000, paying bogus fines to a fake Social Security Administration official using gift cards, or she would be imprisoned. The victim became worried when the suspect on the phone warned her not to tell anyone about the call and notified law enforcement. If any resident receives a suspicious phone call or email that sounds threatening or demanding money via gift cards, please contact us or any other law enforcement right away. The Shred-a-thon and Operation Medicine Cabinet is Saturday, April 27th from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. in the Bass Pro parking lot. So make sure you bring all your documents and unwanted medications. That completes my report.
Thank you, Danny. Does anybody have anything? Nothing? Thank you, Chief.
No, I have something.
Oh, go ahead, Commissioner James.
Yes, thank you. The text 911, what is the response time on that?
That I don't know. It's
If I'm in a
so
closet.
new. There probably are numbers on it. I'm not sure, but if you look on the website, there's informational pamphlets. I
Okay.
can provide them to you. I have them all on my desk.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commission, and the new city manager. Welcome.
Thank you.
Not anything really significant to report, but just to bring you up to speed of where we're at in Dania Point. Phase 1's almost completely done as far as the major structures, and that we're working on the build-outs for those, and new businesses are opening up just about as quickly as we can get the inspections and everything done. We're working hand in hand with developer Kimco and Hoare Construction. We're also moving forward with Saratoga, the development on West Dania Beach Boulevard, and they're still in the early phases. Their infrastructure is being built up right now. The fire alarms, fire sprinkler systems, and things that we're involved with, but we're still in the early stages with that. We just started, and we appreciate the city purchasing the E-Plan review for us. We're doing now electronic plans. It makes a much quicker turnaround time, so it's really assisting us getting the plans in and out. And that's really all I had for this evening.
Commissioner Brandemarty?
Have you had any? Good evening. Have you
Hi.
had any calls that you had to respond to
That we had to respond to?
over at the new construction site?
Not that I'm aware of, but I can do some research and find out.
Huh? Wasn't BSO. But for EMTs, did you have any?
Call for assistance, that I'm not sure of. I can get that
Could
information,
you
get it
give
to
me
you
that
tomorrow.
report at the next time?
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah, I'd
Do
like
you have a
to-
specific date that was?
No, I just want to know, because, listen, we only have certain amount of firemen, right? And we only have certain amount of EMTs, and we only have certain amount of police. And what I'm looking for is what we've already had long before they even started building here. I want to know if there's been any response calls that have been like off the charts to that particular area. Because I really don't feel we have enough of anything to cover that area once it is finished with Phase 3. And that's what I'm interested in, is in statistics for the commission. I believe that we'd all be interested in that.
Okay. Just anecdotally, I can tell you that we haven't experienced any significant increase in calls, but I will look into the numbers and give you exact numbers.
For EMTs,
For medical calls
Medicals, right.
at the Saratoga
Yeah.
site, on the construction site, or the current residential
on the
site?
whole thing since it
Okay.
started, and that goes also with you, Chief, I would like to know if there's been any calls. I'm sorry, Chief. I would like to know if there has been any calls where my BSO had to go respond out there since day one of the building out there. We got to keep track of these statistics, because in the end, we're adding more people, more businesses to this city with the same amount of people. So that's the kind of statistics that I'm looking for in order to protect our residents. All right?
Okay, I'll look into those specific addresses and give you a call volume for that.
Okay, thank you very much.
Commissioner Brandon, are you just talking about Saratoga, or are you talking about Dania Point as well?
I'm not talking about Saratoga at all. I'm talking about Dania Point.
Right.
Okay,
That's what I wanted to make
my
sure was clear.
misunderstanding, because I
No,
thought you were
I'm not
talking about...
talking about Saratoga. I'm talking about Dania Point.
All right,
All right, thank you.
I'll get that for you.
Yeah, please do that. I don't know if any other commissioner wants those statistics, but I know I do, because when it goes time into budgeting, these are very important. Are we really pushing our officers and our fire department, our EMTs, to the maximum? And I don't want to neglect the rest of our residents that have been here forever. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Next item is consent agenda. Do we have any polls?
I do have to read item 7.
Okay, and I'm going to pull number 2.
Okay. Item 7 is an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Dania Beach, Florida, amending Chapter 8 entitled Buildings, Article 10 entitled Storm Shutter Regulations, Section 8-186 entitled Storm Shutter Placement of the City Code of Ordinances pertaining to the dates that storm shutters shall not be permitted to be maintained in a closed position, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, further providing for an effective date. First reading of that ordinance. No.
Okay, so do we have a motion to pass, or motion for everything except for number 2?
Motion to approve the consent agenda with the exception of 7.2.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. So the only item that I wanted to speak about under number 2 is the first item, which is the request by Commissioner James to attend the U.S. Conference of Mayors 87th Annual Meeting in Honolulu from June 27th until July 1 with an estimated cost of $4,798.05. My only comments on this are that, number 1, it is a mayor's conference. I actually also have inquired about this particular event because I wanted to see if it was fiscally responsible for me to attend. And obviously, it's excessive in price. And I have also been doing some due diligence on this. I would still like to attend the event, and I plan to attend the event. However, I'm not going to be asking the city to pay the entire bill. I have been doing some due diligence with this and have spoken with the Broward League of Cities as well as other mayors, other commissioners. It is my understanding that the only people who are attending this event are mayors, not commissioners, and that the mayors who are attending, and there are not that many from Broward County, there's very few, are not paying, they're not expecting the city to pay the full amount. My proposal for me to attend would be for the city to pay, let me see what I wrote here, only for the registration fee, per diem, and airfare, and the remainder I would pay. The other option would be that I would actually be willing to simply just pay half of it, basically pay $2,500 towards it myself out of my own personal funds. We do get a stipend every month, which is what I understand is what that is for events like this. I am concerned that we would be the only city in Broward County that would be sending more than one person, and the only city in Broward County that would be sending a commissioner, and also paying the full amount. Anybody else? Vice Mayor.
So would this change the item then, because it does not include your?
Correct, because I was still doing due diligence up until yesterday on this topic.
Okay, so this would have to be amended to include whatever, I didn't hear the numbers, but whatever portion of it that you want to pay.
Well, I honestly think it should not be two people going, period. I think it should be one person going, and it is a U.S. Conference of Mayors, so it needs to be the mayor who is going. That's what other cities are doing.
Okay, I was just asking for clarification, just for in terms of what it needs to be read. But in terms of the name, I mean, that name is just the name of a nonprofit organization that was named as such back in, I think, the 30s. So I wouldn't get too hung up on the name. I had originally planned to go, but I can't because of scheduling conflicts. And when I looked into it, I found the opposite. I found that they were very eager to make sure that I understood that it was not just for those with the current title mayor, that it was also for vice mayors and commissioners and staff. And when I look on and it should be in our backup in the registration form, it designates as such that it is not just for mayors, that it is also for elected officials. And this is a great agenda, so a great packet that they've put together for you guys. So I am endlessly jealous that I cannot go, but I'm so grateful that you have the time and that Commissioner James has the time to go, because I see tremendous value in this work you are going to be doing, and in the education that you're going to bring back to us. So I of course, it is expensive. You're gonna be on a plane for half a day, and everything on the island is expensive. But it seems completely appropriate to me that both of you will be there, and I look forward to hearing what you bring back.
Commissioner James.
Thank you. I'm only going to address the constituents this time, the residents and everyone that is in the audience, on the benefits and some of the subject matters that will be addressed at this conference that definitely is not only for mayors. When I was the mayor, everywhere that I traveled to, I wish I had the rest of the team traveling with me, because I was often singled out. I often traveled a lot of places alone, and I saw even city managers, city attorneys, all types of staffs. We attend the mayor's gala every year, and we buy an entire table, and our staff attends. There are numerous amounts of different places that you go, and just because, we have a 2-year mayor, 2020 will be here, and you'll have a new mayor, and it is just the name of an organization. So some of the items that will be discussed there are the metro economies, New American City, understanding that we have Virgin Trans USA, which was formerly Brightline, and we might have a station here. Best practice forums, climate protection, beach and climate gentrification, which is a concern of mine. Leadership, tourism, arts, park, entertainment, sports, as we do have the Super Bowl coming here next year. City livability, community development and housing, which we just had a very in-depth conversation about having a housing forum, jobs, education and workforce, transportation and communication, electeds as futurists, workforce development. And so I do, and I also want to bring up a couple of things. I requested the travel of everyone on this dais since I've been elected. That's January 1, 2017. And I'm just going to state facts. I really don't care about the opinions, but I do want the public to know the facts. As of today, or all travel that has been approved till today, I have spent $8,579.13. Commissioner Brandon Marty has spent $3,100.26, and Commissioner Harris has spent $15,061, which within those $15,000, everything has always been approved. There's never been an issue of him traveling at all. I do see the value in traveling and attending conferences because we also see the travel requests that various department heads and staff go on that spend $3,000 at some conferences, $2,700 at other conferences. And quite frankly, I think it's beneficial for our team to be as educated as they can for the type of city that we are currently building. And so, no, I do not think it's unreasonable. I mean, we have one commissioner, and I'm not trying to pick on Commissioner Harris, that has spent more money than all of us combined up here on travel, and no one has ever pulled an item. Everyone has always been in support, as I always will be in support. But I did find something very interesting, and in asking finance, and thank you for that in-depth report, it did mention travel that is going to be occurring tomorrow, which we did not have a travel request or an approval on. I did not see all of the backup items that I was very transparent in providing. I mean, everything has been providing for the public to see. I have nothing to hide. I invited everyone on this. But we do have 3 people traveling. Our mayor is traveling, and our commissioner is traveling as well tomorrow, and there has been no travel request or approval from this board. And I want to ask Tom how that works, because maybe it's something that I really don't understand about. I tried to look in the charter or whatever it was, but I did not see an approval. But the only reason why I saw the cost on it is because it was in the report that I received from Mrs. Satterfield.
Excuse me, travel policy is neither governed by the charter nor city ordinances. It's a city commission policy that was established some years ago, and it's been altered periodically, but it's
so what is it
purely a creature of the city commission. I don't know what the policy is. It's so I don't know.
Because if we don't have to provide all of the details and an approval, I didn't even have to provide any of my travel ever if it was just going to be discussed and done and not approved by this board. And so in the spirit of transparency, if I'm being transparent, I expect there to be complete transparency of the residents who I've received a couple of emails opposed to me going on this trip, and I've received a couple of emails in support of me going on this trip. I mean, I just don't, that's just all I have to say, and I do want to address and hear some type of an explanation on what type of approval was there from this board officially in order for the travel to happen tomorrow, because there was no travel breakdown or anything for me to view. Thank you.
I think that needs to be addressed by our city manager.
Yes, absolutely. If you recall, at my first commission meeting, I brought it to your attention that we had communicated with our Ron Book and Associates, our team over there. I actually suggested that everybody come to Tallahassee. We discussed the dates, and unfortunately, a couple of you could not make it, and only Commissioner Harris and the mayor could make it. And so we did put it on the record, and we can always come back with a total cost to ratify that. But that is within the information that I provided to you and is on the record at the last commission meeting.
May I?
You may.
Okay. Yes, we did discuss it. And we did say who could come and who couldn't go, but there was no action or a vote. And typically how it's been handled since, I've been a part of, as an elected official here, regardless of whatever has been discussed, there's always had to have some type of cost analysis that Chris has always given to us and some type of a backup for us to actually make a motion or say, you know what, this is an item that we are consenting and voting on. I don't. So I guess I want clarification. Is just discussion sufficient
No.
for travel, or do we have to have a cost breakdown? Because the biggest issue I see here is the cost. But, you know, I know that the cost won't be. I don't have an issue with you all leaving tomorrow and going up there. I am in favor of that. But I want to have a consistent way of doing things, and I don't want certain individuals or people that are a part of this commission allowed to travel without being completely transparent with our residents. But I'm scrutinized every single time I have a travel request on the agenda. So I don't know how. Do we need an addendum that we have to? I just don't know how that legally works. I don't know what the commission policy is off the top of my head.
City Attorney?
If I may, I think I would suggest, it's probably something that should come before the commission. If they had known the costs and the prices, I don't know the background of it, but it can be ratified by the commission at the next meeting. It probably should be, so that you have the transparency that you seek. I don't have the policy in front of me, but typically when the commission travels for airfare and overnight stays and per diem, it's covered by approval.
Commissioner Brandamati?
You know, I don't understand what's going on up here. I really don't. I'm talking to you, Chicky, to you. I don't understand what's going on. One time, we made a decision that as long as it's traveling for any of us, it had to be within the United States. And I think I've only found out this morning that Hawaii is part of the United States. I don't think so. I think I've always known that, you know. I did know other places that are not part of it, and that's what we agreed to. It's wonderful that our mayor is willing to pay for her half of her costs, and that's fine with me, and I think we should approve that. However, this is not just for mayors. It also says, because I read the whole thing, it says for staff. It said all these things about even their fire department in Hawaii is going to use vans to transport the staff. This is staff right here, any way you look at it. There's only one mayor, but we're staff. We're commissioners. Technically, really, we're equal to her. Mayor is only a ceremonial title. Remember that, all of you. I have no qualms at all about Commissioner James going to this conference that is 87 years old and we've never ever participated in. And I was surprised that I only spent $3,000. Maybe I'm not doing my job is the way I'm looking at it. Maybe I'm not, but you've got a lot of boring things that I ain't going to. And thank God, as being elected by the people in this city, I don't have to. The only way they could get rid of me is if I miss the commission meetings. Otherwise, they're up creek without a paddle. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? There's nothing wrong with sending that lady. She can go. God bless her that she can go. I can't go because I'm unfortunate. You see, I'll be in Rome, Italy on that day, and I figured it out this way. All right, their convention starts like the 27th. So I'm home, right? 27th I'm home, 28th I'm home, 29th I'm home, and all of a sudden they're over on the 1st of July, and I'm still home. However, I'm at Hawaii, and I miss my flight from New York to go to Italy. So it doesn't pay for me to do that because I already paid for my trip, as you all know. So I can't go. So one out of us, since she's kind enough to pay her big part of her own, we should be entitled. And absolutely, if this is going to a vote, Commissioner James, you got my vote to go because I will be in Rome. I'm not going because I will be in Rome. If I was here, I'd be asking to go too, but I won't be here. So I accept the mayor's proposal of her paying for her own trip, and I'd like to discuss or take a vote or whatever it is on Commissioner James. Maybe they don't want her to go. And on Bill, on Commissioner Harris over here, God bless him, he did do a lot of that. Boy, you spent a lot of money, but it was always for, I call it continuing education. And I'm not against that, Bill. I'm not against continuing education, but that also goes for the young lady sitting next to you. That is part of continuing education. I mean, I'm proud to say I never even graduated from high school, but I was smart enough to go out and get my GED and become a nurse. And then now look where I'm sitting. All right? But I didn't have this opportunity for this continuing education. And I would never say no to any commissioner that's willing to give up her time, her family, to go to it. But I do accept you paying for your own. How do you like that? That's nice, right?
Commissioner Harris?
Okay, what I'm going to say now is probably going to surprise a lot of people.
Yeah, me especially.
You especially.
Yeah.
Because you'll be in Rome. But continuing education is very important. I get that. And I think we as commissioners going to a conference, wherever it happens to be in the United States,
Yes.
show a sign of unity when we go together. So after discussions and looking, yes, the conference is open to mayors as well as other elected officials. I have that on their website. So if the mayor would like to go, I think that's great. And if she wants, if the mayor would allow me as a travel agent to look at some lower priced alternatives for lodging and airfare, that would be great, because I would like to go too, because there is no way that one person, Ms. Tamara James, can go to all these sessions. And this conference is historic, because the last time the mayor's conference was in Honolulu, John Kennedy was the president, and he welcomed all the mayors to Honolulu, which at that time was a new state. So yes, this is historic, and I think for us to show unity, and if this city manager would allow, I already did my homework, so I looked at some lower priced alternatives for hotel accommodations, which are within walking distance. No, we're not finding Spirit, but there's some, no, I don't even know if they go there. But, you know, this is at the Hilton Hawaiian Village, which is a high-end hotel. But right next door, down the street, a block away, there's a Hilton for $217 a night. I already checked it out. So as far as I talked to other mayors around Broward, League of Cities, and Mary Lou said that, you know, this conference is historic because a lot of people from the East Coast go west for a major conference. A lot of people in Los Angeles, Seattle, Oregon, they go east for a conference in Washington, D.C. or New York. So that part is great. Plus, is we're celebrating our future and our new success, and we are a member of the Conference of Mayors. So, yes.
As of this year.
As of this year, and I think that's great because this is historic. And, you know, I want to go because there are so many good programs about climate change and water control. I mean, go down best practices, and that's what we're trying to do.
I gotta say.
And there's a women's conference, too, about women mayors. And so, you know, it's the year of the woman. Hey, girls. So, you know, all of that is good. So I'm willing to go, too, and have, in most cases, I talked to several, like I said, several other city municipalities. Their travel policy is that whoever goes to a conference, the mayor or whoever, the registration fee and the lodging is paid for. But if we can work out something where we can find a lower price alternative at a comparable hotel close by, we can all go as a team, we can go united, we can go to Hawaii, and we can learn about water and beach erosion and climate change and all that. So I'm willing to pay my fair share of the airfare if we can find a lower price alternative and anybody else wants to go, because it's education, it's visibility, it's climate, it's best practices, it's all this stuff which is really, really good, and it's historic. So we'll all be able to go and celebrate our success with our new logo, get our word out there in front of everybody that's going to be there. And, you know, I'm in support. So if you allow me to look at some lower price alternatives and get back to you all in a day or so, then we can complete the registration. And then it does say on the conference website, because I looked at it, do you need lodging at the conference hotel? Yes or no? And the other thing is, like with the no, is that we can stay in a lower price hotel. But the other thing that we need to consider is that this conference is sponsored by Airbnb. So this will be a good opportunity for us to get right with the officials at Airbnb and say, what are you doing to us over here in the East Coast? So there's a win-win for, I think, for many reasons. I mean, I get excited about stuff like this because I think it's great because, you know, we might not all be able to go on the same day on the same flight, but at least when we land in Honolulu, we'll see each other at the airport and we could go to a conference united. And you know what? Let's do it. Let's do it.
So, Commissioner Harris, what I'm understanding you're saying is that you're proposing that the city pay for the registration fee and the lodging.
Right.
And that we each pay our own way for anything else.
I'm willing to do that. Yes.
I'm willing to do that as well, and I think that would be the most appropriate way to do it, considering the expense that's associated with it.
Yeah.
If we were to spend the $5,000 for Commissioner James, say $2,500 for yours, $2,500 for mine, we're above our travel budget, and we are now going into contingency, and potentially at some point, because we still have League of Cities up in Orlando this summer, we would potentially be going into reserves. And we can't have that happen for travel. We just simply can't. That's not what reserves are there for. So that would be my proposal. Would that be, if anybody wants to go, fine. Everyone that I have spoken with has indicated that it has strictly been mayors that are going, that it is not multiple people coming. But if that's the way that you want to do it, that's fine. We can be the only city there that shows up with 3 or 4 more people, that's fine. But I don't think that anybody should be getting the entire thing paid for because it is very expensive, and it makes more sense for each person to pay a portion of it and have the city pay a portion of it. Vice Mayor.
Okay. I'm even more jealous now, thinking that. Wow. I'll be at a PTA meeting or something. So a couple of things. A lot of this back and forth and this bickering over travel is really ridiculous, and I think it may ultimately be alleviated if later on we have the discussion about doing something where in the budget each commissioner will be allotted a certain travel allowance, and then instead of having to go and sort of plead your case or ask, you know, the mother for permission, that whole kind of setup, I think it's probably unnecessary. That a conference that is very important to me and is perhaps very relevant to something that I'm championing on this year, I should be able to go to, and I shouldn't have to do a whole pony show for it. And the same thing for all the other commissioners. And what exactly that number will be, I don't know, but we can chop it up later on. So hopefully, once we start to get to budget, we'll get there, and then this kind of thing won't be an issue anymore. The only other thing, you know, I think going forth, even if it's last minute, I think it would be the direction of the commission that we would request that it's always on the agenda, even if it's estimated prices, in the interest of transparency. That's all. Is there more discussion on the item before making a motion?
Commissioner Brandon Marty has her light on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bill, my alternative motive for you hoping you'd go was because I wanted you to get involved with the Airbnb, and that is the sponsors of this thing. But I do not feel that we should change the policy tonight. Leave the policy the way it was, and I think that the city that's part of our job, is including traveling. And I do not feel that even if it was I that was going to it, that I should have to pay for going. It just isn't fair to anybody. Maybe you got a business, you could afford it. I don't know your status. She's a lawyer, figure that one out yourselves. So all I'm saying to you is I like the way that Lauren said it, though. Maybe later on down the line, we should discuss this and do an allowance for traveling, because I'll tell you right now, I'm going to the League of Cities, and this city's paying for it. I have not missed it in 8 years, and I'm not going to. That's only in Orlando, though. I'm sorry. But I'm telling you right now, I will not support or agree to a commissioner that we're not going to pay for them going to represent the city of Dania Beach at this annual convention. I just can't do it.
Commissioner James.
I'm just waiting to call a question. My motion.
Commissioner Harris, did you have something else to add?
No, in getting back to the program again, there's programs about children health and human services, community development, criminal and social justice standing, energy standing, environmental issues, jobs, education, and workforce standing committees, metro economics and transportation and communications, all those things that we are interested in here. So I piggyback on Commissioner Brandon Marte's motion.
I'm going to make a motion
Wait,
that we
well-
do not change any of the traveling that we've been doing for all these years. And to me, it looks personal, and I don't like the taste that's in my mouth.
It's not personal.
So
Commissioner
I have a
James?
motion.
Go ahead.
I guess I'll do the motion. Whatever,
my motion.
okay, it's a different motion than yours, Commissioner, but whatever the mayor and Commissioner Harris comes back with in their other travel requests in their documents, they can come back with that. But this is about my travel request that was pulled. So aside of that, I would like to make a motion to approve 7.2.
Second.
Call the roll.
Commissioner Brandimart,
Yes.
Commissioner Harris,
yes.
Commissioner James,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Odman,
Yes.
Mayor Llewellyn.
Because I don't feel that it is best practices to expect the city to pay the full amount. It was already discussed by Commissioner Harris as well. No.
Motion carried 4-1.
No, sorry. Next item is bids and requests for proposals. There are none. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Public hearings.
Nine one is an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Dania Beach, Florida, to amend Chapter 28, the Land Development Code of the City's Code of Ordinances by amending Part 1 Use Regulations, Article 110 Use Regulations for Commercial and Mixed-Use Districts, Section 110-20, List of Permitted Special Exception and Prohibited Uses to amend the Schedule of Permitted Uses, creating Section 110-320, Mobile Food Vending Conditions of Use, Article 115, Industrial Districts, Permitted, Prohibited Special Exception Uses and Conditions of Use, Section 115-40, Schedule of Permitted Uses to amend the Schedule of Permitted Uses, amending Article Part 3, Special Zoning Districts, Subpart 1, Community Development, Redevelopment Areas, CRA Form-Based Zoning Districts, Article 302, Detailed Use Regulations, Section 302-10, Permitted Special Exception and Prohibited Uses, to amend the Schedule of Permitted Uses, amending Part 6, Development Review with Procedures and Requirements, Article 675, Temporary Use and Special Event Permits, to provide for mobile food vendor events, and further amending Part 7, Code Administration, Article 725, Definitions, Section 725-30, Terms to define, to provide for mobile food vendors, providing for severability, providing for conflicts, providing for inclusion in the code, and providing for an effective date. First reading of this ordinance, which was continued from the February 26, 2019 Commission meeting.
Good evening. Corinne LaJoy, Planning and Zoning Manager. This is a text amendment. This is first reading, and this is in an effort to try to establish mobile food vendors in the city. Some background information at first. In December, the City Commission, it was on the agenda actually under discussion and possible action, where the Commission discussed the need to consider an ordinance to allow food trucks in the city for special events and for as a mobile vendor in the city. The City Commission as a whole did agree, they had a consensus that they wanted some sort of ordinance allowing those uses to be brought back to them. Since then, staff has researched and reviewed other jurisdictions to see how other municipalities handle it, and we've prepared some ideas. We did bring that to the city, to the Planning and Zoning Board, and they heard the item. They approved it with some recommendations that we can talk about later, but they are identified in the staff report as well. And what the request is to allow food trucks in the city with limitations. Currently, all mobile vendors, including food trucks, are prohibited in the city unless they're associated with a special event. We're proposing several changes to expand the special exception regulations and to allow food trucks with limitations in the city. And so there's really three major areas that this amendment is addressing. The first is to define what mobile food vendor and mobile food vendor event is. The second is with regards to the special events. We're actually expanding the food truck or mobile vendor use within the special event section. And then the third is for the mobile food vendor itself in different areas of the city outside of the provisions of special events. So for the first was definitions. So we added a definition talking about defining what mobile food vendor is. And here we state that it retail sales of food from a motorized vehicle or self-contained unit able to be readily moved or from temporary fixtures on a property outdoors that is approved and licensed for such activity. A mobile food vendor event is one or more food trucks gathered at any time for any duration of time for the purposes of retail food sales in connection with the establishment and licensed business, or an event with 50 people or more, which requires a special event in accordance with Article 675, which is our special event section. The special event section, this amendment would add the total number of special events permitted per year for mobile food vendor events to 8. The food trucks associated with special events would remain a limitation of 4 per year. So if it was solely a food event, a mobile food vendor event, we could have as many as 8 in the city. The next area is the mobile food vendors or the food trucks themselves. So this text amendment will allow the food trucks as a conditional use in certain zoning districts. And what we're proposing at the moment is the city center zoning, the C3 zoning district, the Industrial Research Office Marine, and Industrial Research Office Marine Airport Approach zoning districts. And this is a map of where those different districts are located in the city. You kind of get an idea of where those are at. I did say that what we're proposing is for the mobile food vendors to be allowed as a conditional use. So we do have a lot of conditions that are associated with them. And I'm going to read through them because this is really where I think we're looking for input. This is where we kind of assembled what we could from different municipalities. So the first, it's all kind of related to location. The first is to be located only on developed property fronting on an arterial corridor with written approval from the property owner. The next is to be separated at least 200 feet from an existing restaurant. The next is to be located a minimum of 5 feet from any right-of-way, which is a road or sidewalk. Not to be located in required parking. Not to block access or required parking for simultaneously operating business on the property according to the city's parking requirements. Not to disrupt vehicle or pedestrian circulation for ingress or egress of the property. Not to be located in any right-of-way, so not in the streets. And not to use the same location for more than 3 consecutive days. As a caveat, we're also saying that some sites that don't have excess parking for operation of the primary use would not be allowed to have a food truck if it was during business hours, because they can't take away required parking.
I have a question. I have a question about that.
Yes. Ooh, sorry, I got to go back. Yes.
Commissioner Brandon already had her light on earlier. I was waiting until after the presentation was completed. Can we wait until after the presentation is completed and then we'll come back to it? Thank you.
Okay. There are some prohibitions that are listed as well, and that's the operation, operating more than 3 hours per location would be prohibited. Operating outside the hours of 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. would be prohibited. Operating a freestanding generator or other utility hookups. Operating any type of amplified speaker or playing music of any kind. The selling or providing of alcohol. The use or distribution of styrofoam containers or cups. Use or distribution of plastic straws. Utilization of freestanding signs. And participation in a mobile food vendor event without a special exception approval. Staff has also requested that the attorneys add into the ordinance a sunset provision requiring that the regulations kind of expire after 2 years. This gives us the opportunity to kind of stop issuing the approvals and do some analysis and see how it's working for everybody. And if it needs to be tweaked before we go forward, we can do it at that time. This is first reading, so we are open to your discussion. Changes can be made before second reading, and which would be the adoption of the ordinance. Also, the proposed a proposed resolution establishing application fees will accompany this ordinance at second reading, so they can be approved at the same time. In addition, like I stated earlier, in March of this year, last month, the Planning and Zoning Board, sitting as the LPA, recommended approval of the ordinance with some amendments. And at this time, we're proposing approval of the ordinance. And we're looking kind of for some discussion and direction from you, letting us know if you like everything we did or if there's some additional refinement that's necessary.
Commissioner Brandon-Marty.
You're not going to believe it, but what I'm going to ask you doesn't even pertain to this. It's something that I'm curious about. The food trucks that deliver and sell food at businesses, like say they go into like a marina or something like that, are they regulated at all? I always was wondering, who checks them for like health and all that? Would you or Mark know?
Well, at the moment, all mobile food vendors are not permitted in the city, whether it's food or dog washing or car washing. Any mobile vendor is not a permitted use in the city.
Well, wait a minute. All the buildings and factories and stuff like that, they have food vendors going to them on those little trucks, and you see the men come out and buy their sandwich and all. Are you saying they're not permitted?
Yeah.
Then I take back my question because I love them.
Okay.
Because they are there, and that's why I'm wondering, does this pertain to that? Are they regulated? Mark, do you know? I'm just curious about that because they got great businesses. Especially the guy with the umbrella and the Sabaret's hot dogs.
Mark LaFerrier, Community Development Director. To answer your question, is just to kind of follow up what Corinne said, those sort of mobile vendors that provide their services on a mobile basis, they're not regulated directly by the city. Now, they may have other regulations that they need to follow. For example, a lot of the food vendors that go to construction sites and other vendors like that, they are regulated by the health department.
Do we give them licenses?
No.
Do they apply?
No, we currently do not allow them in the city ordinances.
You don't? Will this allow them?
No, they will not. This is directly related to food trucks.
Wow.
Yeah. Commissioner, are you finished?
Oh, yeah, because I don't have an answer.
Okay. Vice Mayor?
Yeah, I don't.
I think my questions are for Corinne. Thank you. So what were the P&Z, what were their recommendations or amendments? Were there something specific?
Yes, so they had requested that some language be added, and there was kind of 3 points that they wanted to add. The first was a 500-foot separation from another food truck. Food truck vendors must leave the property clean and free of trash. They wanted to specify that. And they also wanted not permitted on vacant property. And the fifth was kind of a deletion where they wanted to, it was kind of a repetitive regulation where we had stated that no more than 49 persons in attendance was permitted because once you hit 50, it's a special event. They wanted to strike that.
Got it. All right, so my concerns. A lot of this is standard except for, where was it? Must have the written approval, no. Okay, so the freestanding signage, so the little, not tent, they're the little wooden signs where people write what the specials are. Is that considered a freestanding sign? So that's pretty important for those food trucks. Mm-hmm. One of my favorite Starfish food trucks, they put on there what they caught that day, so they really need that sign. There's not a lot of real estate on your truck so much. So I would think that they would need the ability, or that we would be really hindering them if we didn't allow them. Do you guys know what I mean? I'm sorry. Chalkboard, basically. Thank you. A chalkboard, an easel, something like that. So I would want that removed. And my other question was, about the number of times. Oh, yes. Whoa. Was there something?
Talking about making sure we take the notes because we want to incorporate these in the next reading.
Got it. And then my other question was the reasoning behind limiting the number of events per year to 8.
Well, currently you're allowed to have 4 events per year.
Uh-huh.
And because there seemed to be an understanding or appreciation by this commission in consensus about having some more frequent food truck events. We thought a good start would be to just double it. If the commission has a different number they think would be appropriate, then certainly that could be incorporated in the ordinance, but we wanted to go kind of a little bit at a time to see how things work and then make adjustments later on if we need to.
Okay, so then my next request would be then to change it from 8 to 12, allowing for one event per month. I mean, really, I'd like it to be more than that, but I understand why we're doing it that way. So those would be my two requests if it would be the will of the commission.
I just want to let Commissioner James know your light's not on. I know you wanted to say something earlier. Okay. Commissioner Harris?
Yeah, I do have one question because I'm not clear on it. So let's say we have an office across the street. We have 15 employees. Okay, it's Friday. What's everybody want for lunch? Let's call the cheeseburger truck and get everybody a cheeseburger. Is that going to be allowed?
Yes.
I mean, I know we talked about this before,
Yes,
but I'm still unclear because of the separation and all that between another restaurant. I mean, or what if we want, what was it last week? Led Zeppelin?
Red Zeppelin?
Red Zeppelin. I mean, what if we want that? Are we allowed to call and say, okay, it's Friday, it's 11:30, let's call them and get them here by 12:30 for... No, anywhere.
Well, I think-
we have 15 employees at the office. Everybody wants Led Zeppelin. So can we call them up and have them come over and make food for 12 people, 15
Commissioner,
people?
yes, that's the intent of that, sort of that second provision in this ordinance, and that is to allow for that mobile food vendor.
Okay.
There are some restrictions there, and I think we need to look at those very carefully before we go into second reading. And as I said, as Corinne and I said earlier, this is going to be something that we need to probably look at and sort of monitor to see if it's working both for the food truck industry and if it's working for our constituents and if it's meeting really the intent of this commission. This is kind of new legislation. This isn't, that second part of this ordinance isn't really something that we found in other cities.
Because, I mean, the lunch truck, we call it the lunch truck. When I worked at Lunchero, we called them. They came and they blew the horn and all the construction workers came out and they got their cold, their wrap sandwich in there. But that doesn't apply to them. They'll still operate. Because we saw one today, at Director Shipyard. And, yeah, I mean, it's like almost like a fixture in most cities where there's a lot of construction, a lot of concentrated people that, come and get their soda and their wrap sandwich. And they come twice a day, morning and afternoon. So they come and they blow the horn. Lunchero, everybody used to run out. So I'm just saying.
Mark, I have a question for you.
Sure.
A couple questions. Now, is this only going to be one truck per location, or is it going to be multiple trucks in a location?
Well, the food truck events, you could have multiple trucks.
Right.
If it's just the mobile vendor, then we're suggesting it's only one truck.
Okay. And is there a limitation as to how long they're going to be there?
Yes.
3 hours?
3 days, 3 hours a day.
3 days a week, 3 hours?
3 consecutive days.
3 consecutive days, 3 hours
3
at a
hours per
time.
week.
Okay. My concern is the locations, because if this is something that's going to be on a regular basis, I want to make sure that we're not going to be negatively impacting our local businesses that serve food as well. I'm a little concerned about stretching it out for 2 years for the period of time to review this, because a lot of damage could be done if it is potentially impacting local businesses in 2 years. If we could shorten that time period, maybe to a year, and that's kind of long, but just so that we're making sure that it's not negatively impacting the local restaurants and other people that are already established here. And I know we do have some local trucks, like Red Zeppelin is one that's local, but there are others that are not, and I don't want to end up taking away from the people that are here and already have established businesses. So that's my only concerns. Commissioner Brandon-Marty.
Scenario at IT Parker, and let's say that for a barbecue, right, and I wanted to have a truck brought there, right? Could I have 2? No.
Well, that would be a different approval process. That would be a process, since it's a city park and a city facility, we'd ask that you'd go through the Parks Department to get that approved. It may result in a special event, or it may result in an
I'm
approval.
talking about a regular meeting,
Yeah.
one of my meetings.
Yeah. I mean, we would ask you, since that's a city facility and a city-sponsored activity, that would just be coordinated. It wouldn't be specifically regulated under this ordinance.
Okay, thanks, Mark.
Vice Mayor?
So it seems that the 200 feet from an existing business restaurant, that's pretty standard to sort of protect our local businesses. Do they have to? So to become a food truck in the city, what will they have to do, and will they have to pay like a yearly permitting fee?
Yes.
Okay, and what
Yeah,
will that be?
Well, we haven't come up with
Okay.
that fee amount yet, but they would have to come in with all their licenses. They all have to be approved
Right.
by the state, and they all have to have their certifications. Then they would come in also with the property owner that they would be stopping at, their affidavit for approval, and then also a description of the business and what they'll be doing and when. And then we would sign that off, and that would be approved for a year. They could come in and modify that on an annual, as a time-to-time basis if they needed to. But this way, we could keep track of where they say they're going to go and where they're going.
But if they can't be at the same place more than 3 times, if they have their permit for a year, they're going to have to come back and modify it.
Well, they could come in and identify 4 or 5 locations, too. So they might have 4 or 5 locations that they want to go to in that month, 3 times for each location.
Well, no, I talked to a lot of the food truck vendors about, I said, what are your challenges? And it's exceptionally difficult, especially as the popularity has increased. So it's really hard, apparently, for them to find a place to be. So while I want to protect our businesses, I don't want to be so restrictive that it doesn't make sense for them to come here and they're just like, no thanks. But, okay. And then my other question was, they have to carry their own insurance as well?
Yes.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Commissioner Brandon Marty?
No, I did talk.
Oh, you're up.
Thank you.
Commissioner James?
When I hear you say permission, are you saying that they would have to, I saw it said written permission from the property owner. Would that have to be approved by you all first?
Well, it would be a part of the application. So we would have to look at the location and their paperwork to make sure that their approvals and certifications to
For
the
the food
different
trucks.
agencies. Yeah, that they're all current.
Okay.
We'd have to make sure that was an affidavit that was notarized from the property owner saying that they believe that they support it coming to that location. And then we would check to see all the other criteria that's in the ordinance, that they comply with all the other criteria.
So to go back to the situation that Commissioner Harris said, if he wanted to, on a Friday, he wakes up and say, let's call this food truck in, then they really couldn't do that because they would then have to get written approval and come back through you and do an application. So all of that we're speaking about isn't really convenient for the food trucks to just come. This can't be just a spontaneous thing to where you're planning a surprise or something on Friday and a food truck coming then. So that does not apply.
Your characterization is correct. It isn't something that would be spontaneous. It would be regulated. That's the way we've proposed it.
Is there a way we don't have to be that restrictive? And
well, I think there's a couple things. We mentioned up front that this is really kind of
right.
Our first reading is kind of a workshop moment for all of us. And one of the things I was thinking is that we probably need to bring it to the food truck industry. And there is a core group of people that do work in Dania Beach. So I'd like to bounce it off of them a little bit. We won't be back at your next meeting, I don't believe, unless you really want us to. The second thing is to kind of test, from what we heard tonight, test our ordinance against what your intent is. Because now we know more about what the intent is. And sort of bounce these regulations off, measure things out, study a little bit further to see if it really follows through with what you want.
Okay.
So we'll look into the idea of being spontaneous, how to handle that. But we didn't want it to go unregulated either, where you're going to see food trucks all up and down the street.
I kind of want
another jurisdiction.
a meeting in the middle of
Exactly.
both.
That's what we're trying to do.
Thank you.
Yep.
Mark, how long would the process be to get that approval? I mean, could it be something where they plan it, say, on a Monday, and then by Friday, they can have it there?
I think, we can move things along pretty quickly in my department. Most of the time, it's really how complete is the application. So if someone brings in a complete application, they can usually get it turned around in 48 hours.
Right.
Now, we'd ask that they come in and meet with us in advance so they really know what the expectations are for the application and ask their questions at that point. But it's something that could be turned pretty quickly.
City Manager, do you have a question?
Yes, what I wanted to ask Mark, being that some really good ideas have been brought up, and we've been discussing this with staff. But for example, Commissioner Brandymark, she brought a good point. Having visited the senior center at the IT Parker, there's 100+ seniors certain days. Could we do multiple trucks, let's say at the senior center, if that would be something that they would want to do? Could we do the first Friday of the month here at City Center and have more than one truck?
We drafted this ordinance really with the intent that it applied to private property and private functions and activities, and that those types of approvals for public parks, public activities would be another process that could go through Parks and Rec, and the approvals would be garnered that way.
Commissioner Brandemarty?
Mark, after reviewing all of this, what do you feel is the biggest problem with this?
I know that, no, it won't be perfect, because we're trying to do something that I think is very well intended, and that's provide people options for, lunch or dinners or events. And that's our goal, but to allow it within regulation so it doesn't sort of get to be a problem for the neighbors or other businesses, that's sort of the balancing trick here. And I think the more that we know and the more that we test it, and the way we perfect the ordinance and we implement it carefully, I think we might achieve that. So this is sort of our first approach at it. It's really worthy of a try, we know that. But, we always talk a lot about best practices. I don't think anyone's done this yet. So let's see what happens. We couldn't find anything like this.
So this is a first, so there'll probably be a lot of ouch.
We need to be careful with that. I mean, there are cities that have the mobile vendors like the Lunch Arrow that do that. And there's people that have hot dog stands and things like that, but nothing quite like this.
Maybe we'll be a first and the rest will follow. You never know.
What about, I think I've mentioned before, like Broward Health, they have this thing where they've got food trucks that come, I think it's Friday afternoons from 4 to 7, at least they used to. I don't know if they still do. I don't know if that's something that is a special event request, or you just haven't found a code anywhere.
I think it may just be under the radar screen.
Okay. Vice Mayor?
What about Hollywood? I've been going to their Monday night, circle event but they've been huge with their food trucks. They have it over at the Shell station, so they've been a big purveyor of that. So did we look at their ordinance to see if there were things we could snatch from that?
We sure did.
Okay.
They've got very specific and detailed regulations.
Yeah.
And some of the ways that we all view food trucks are through these special events.
Right.
And I think those won't be difficult to handle, because it will be a special event, and we'll be able to regulate in the way that we're all familiar with regulating special events, and they go off really well in our city. It's this mobile vendor that's going to be a little different.
Yeah, absolutely.
It'll be a little different.
Because it's very strange. That process of them going about, and then they find where they're trying to find where to go, and they end up in these places that are really rather peculiar, like a parking lot of a gas station or a parking lot of, I've seen it in some very strange places, so I understand that will be much more tricky than the special events part, because that we can.
I got off on the Turnpike by mistake on Orange Blossom Drive once, and the parking lots, in every single parking lot, there was 2 or 3 food trucks. And It was like a food truck event.
Right.
I don't know if it was regulated at all. Then also, if you go to Manhattan and you go to a Broadway play, on the walk down the Avenue of the Americas, there'll be these carts where people are lined up,
well, like
getting
you
a
said,
bite to
I
eat
think
before
it's
the play in Broadway. So
it's a first reading and a first attempt, and I think that it's a worthy thing worth pursuing.
Yeah, the
Commissioner Brandon.
Yeah, the last thing I want to say is, as I was just thinking about what our mayor said. Look, I don't want to get to the point that we hurt our mom and pop restaurants. They're already feeling that the point is going to hurt them. Well, they got a reason to think that. But I don't want to hurt them by the fact that a food truck comes out at their lunchtime or their dinner time, and we end up putting our small businesses out of business. That would not sit right. And I'm a little leery now after listening to all of the other commissioners here. We got to protect the people that we do have here that have businesses. And I don't know if somebody will say, oh, gee, let's go over by the fish grill, because we could get a lot of people that they can't see and we'll feed them out here. Or I don't know. I'm a little bit scared on this right now. I am. I don't want to lose our mom and pop restaurants for trucks that can go. They got wheels. They can pick up and go anywhere they want to. Our mom and pop restaurants, they don't. They're making a living on their tiny little businesses. And right now they're hurting. They're hurting. So I don't know. I have to really think this out myself.
Okay, Commissioner James, and then we need to have a public hearing. We haven't done that yet, so.
Oh, well, I have a motion after your public hearing. That was all I was.
Okay. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone here to speak for or against? Seeing none?
Yeah, I have a motion that we defer this or take this off the table until they do more research and come back with something, because we have a lot of direction up here. So that's my motion.
I'll second that motion.
Call the roll?
Oh, we need a date certain typically.
Okay.
It
So
hasn't been advertised, right, Tom?
No.
But typically you want a date. It has been advertised?
I don't think the second reading.
This is the first reading.
I know it's first reading, but it has not been advertised, is my point.
Could we have the?
So what date do you want to put it towards? May 14th is the next meeting.
It was advertised for first reading, so we would ask either that you can withdraw and we'll just re-advertise, or you
Right.
can defer to a date.
Can we withdraw it
That's
until
clear.
you're comfortable?
If you
Because
withdraw,
I don't
it's
know
clear.
how long it's going to take you
Yeah.
to be comfortable with
Yeah.
doing all the necessary research. Are you comfortable with that?
Yes, we're comfortable with that. I whispered to Corinne on the way up, I think we're going to need a little extra time.
Right.
So,
Okay,
if we can bring it back to the second meeting in May, and that's not delaying the commission's intent, that'll work for
The
us.
Okay, so I asked that, my motion is to defer this into the second meeting in May.
Second.
I'll second it. One of us.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Anyone opposed?
Okay, 9.2 is a companion ordinance, so I would expect we'll do the same thing. 9.2 is an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Dania Beach, Florida, to amend Chapter 13, Health and Sanitation of the city's Code of Ordinances by amending Article 6, Food and Food Establishments, to establish and provide for standards and regulations related to mobile food vendors, providing for severability, providing for conflicts, providing for inclusion in the code, and providing for an effective date. First reading also continued from February 26, 2019. So the similar motion to defer to the second meeting in May.
Actually, I'm sorry, staff was withdrawing this. Originally, there was a section in the Code of Ordinances in a different chapter, and we thought we might place it there, so we advertised for both. But later, we've determined everything was going to be in Chapter 28, so we don't need this Chapter 13 anymore.
So we're withdrawing that completely?
Yes.
Doesn't even need a motion? Okay. All right.
All right, next item is discussion and possible action, and I have one item, would have ordered it differently, but program allowing homeless to pick up trash for minimum wage. Basically, what this is about is there are a number of cities that have started to be proactive in working with the homeless population and trying to think outside of the box to find ways to try to address the homeless population and help the homeless also get back on their feet. There were a number of things. I had actually spoken to the CRA executive director about this at one point, who helped me develop a few different, or find a few different locations where they were doing this. The most recent one is in Sarasota. And basically, what it is it's not full-time employment. It is a couple of hours a week where basically individuals are assigned certain areas, generally where they are located most of the time, and they're in charge of taking care of those areas and trying to keep them cleaner, nicer, and it also kind of gives them a motivation to move forward. It's the only thing that I'm asking is I've gone through the city manager to ask that we take a look at this from different perspectives, maybe contact some of the other cities that have done it to see if it's something that would even be feasible here. It may not be, but I just want to look into it a little bit more and see if it's something that might help, because as we're growing and we have more development and more people coming into the city, the homeless population is going to grow, and we're going to continue to see a problem. We know that the police are doing an excellent job trying to help with this and trying to move people around. But I think we also need to look at some other potential options, not the norm, something outside of the box, basically, to see if there's a possibility of doing something else that might also help the homeless and also help the city at the same time. Commissioner Brandon-Marty.
Yes, the only way I want to help the homeless is move them out of the city, because they're not caring what they're doing or in front of who they're doing. And most of the trash that they'd be picking up, and we're going to pay them to pick it up, is what they put out there themselves. I would never want to encourage this at all. When our police pick up our homeless and they drive them wherever they are, as soon as they're let go, or get out of where they're at, they go right back to the same corner again, unless they're Baker acted. Who's paying for the insurance for these people? Are we, since they're going to be on our payroll? I don't believe in that. Let me tell you something. I had a business in Washington, D.C., and my husband and I always brought food from the restaurant to the homeless, because that made me feel good, because I was giving them food and not money, because the money went for drugs and booze. That's all it went for. So one day my husband says, oh no, I'm going to offer this man a job. So we stopped under the bridge over there and we said to the guy, how would you like to have a job? And he said first, what are the hours? My husband says, why, are you going to school? He answered back, no, but I'm not going to lose my corner either. That is not really funny. That's sad. But most of the homeless people, they don't want to be helped. I got hollered at the gas station at the corner of Sheridan and Federal Highway by our BSO officers, because I thought they were crazy. I went to that gas station, and on the side of the building, and it was raining, and I had extra umbrellas in my car that are left over when people go to a restaurant and they forget them. We don't know how to call the people to say, come and get them, right? So I went there and I gave an umbrella to each of the 3 homeless men at that corner. And then meanwhile, I gave one man a $5 bill. Who pulls up but BSO? Oh, what are you doing here, chickie? Just talk. I said, well, I just gave them 3 guys an umbrella and I gave them $5. He said, oh, you did. Well, I want you to sit here for a minute. I said, what am I watching for? He said, watch. I sat there with the police officers. If they want to admit to you who they were, then that's all right. And I'm thinking, well, why do they want me to sit here? That man took that $5 and went to that store on the corner, right at the Sheridan gas station, and right next door is right over the light that is store. He came out with a brown bag, and I said he must have been hungry. It was a tall, not a regular size can, but a tall can I didn't even know they made of beer. He said, that's what your $5 did to him. You became an enabler. I am totally dead set against this. I would be for, let's say, during the months of when the children are out of school, to give and offer this kind of minimum wage to the children if they want a job during the summer months to make money. Our children in our town, not a homeless that came from maybe Hawaii. I don't know where he came from. I want to help our people. I do not want the taxpayers' dollars to go to homeless that were shifted here from other cities. And that's how I feel. Offer it to our children in a children's program. See if they want to make a few bucks. They're just as hungry, some of them, as you're homeless.
Commissioner James?
Thank you. Whereas I do think that the homeless issue needs to continue being addressed in different creative ways, I do have some, concerns about this, and I'm sure you've done your due diligence and searched, but especially, liability and insurance and the brand that and the standard that we are setting. I don't know the natural look of a homeless person. It could be me tomorrow. However, I don't know how they would be washing their clothing or what type of clothing they would be wearing, if they would be representing us. I actually saw 2 days ago a homeless man get tapped by, he was on a bike, get tapped by the lady's side view mirror, and he fell and poured the coffee on him, and the EMT came and he got in the ambulance. And so I'm sure as a come up, those are another concern of mine. And if we have a program of employing the homeless, I don't know how we're going to rid the homeless of being homeless, or how this entail will help the issue of ratifying or getting rid of that issue that we currently have here. And with more people, there will be more homeless people seeking to do this. Us paying them minimum wage when we have an internship and a volunteer program that is free, and these people that are in school, I think that if it's the will of the commission to have this program, if we're going to pay the homeless, we definitely need to pay our interns. We all had the opportunity, or most of us had the opportunity to go sit with James Brewer over at Director, the Marina, and for Taylor Lane, and he said the same thing, not about the homeless, but about internships and how much more effective they are when they are paid. So I don't know I don't know what other alternatives there would be. I think if this is something as far as giving money to the homeless, I think that it needs a lot more workshopping and things.
And Commissioner James, I appreciate that, and that's what I'm doing today. I'm not asking us to approve a program. All I'm saying is that I basically wanted to make everybody aware that I've asked that we look into these other programs and see how they work, and see if it's something that we might be interested in. And if there is more, once there is more information, and we have that, because I don't have all the information, I just know that I'm seeing them pop up all over the country, and these sort of programs are coming up. And because we do have a growing population, and we are having more and more homeless pop up in the city of Dania Beach, just trying to find some other creative ways to try to deal with the problem, other than moving people out of the city, because they're going to come back. So I'm not looking to approve a program today. That's absolutely not what I'm looking for. I'm simply just saying that I think we should look into it and see what options there are. And it may not be minimum wage. Maybe there's other ways to pay them. These are all questions that I have too. Liability, insurance, all of that. Would they be employees? Would they be 1099s? Would they be something else? And I agree, there's a lot of questions, which is why I would like for us to look into it and just see what the options are.
Okay, I have a question.
Go ahead.
Have you heard of, what is it, Comey's? Or what used to be the organization that did the homeless voice that was in Dania and Hollywood that...
In Fort Lauderdale?
Sean Cannoni. It was on Hollywood, right after, right by Dania Beach.
Yes, in Hollywood. That organization was here, and it was... if you're going to do the research, maybe look at where they failed, because they definitely... Jubilee?
Sure. Commissioner Brandon.
Definitely look where they have failed, because it was definitely an organization that the residents in the city was really not in support of, and it was kind of similar.
Actually, when I was in law school, I actually did work with the homeless, and I did see what was going on with that. There were some programs that were really good and some that were really not. And there are some homeless who want nothing to do with this sort of thing, and some that do. And again, this is just looking into it and seeing what the other options are that are out there. It's not a matter of approving anything. It's a matter of looking into it, investigating it, see if it's something that's feasible, see if it's a potential option. It may not be. We could come back and get a report from the city manager or from the different departments that say, no, we can't do this. No, it would be too much of a liability. No, it's too much of a risk. No, it's too expensive, or it's just not feasible, period. And that's fine. I just want us to look into it just to see if there's a potential for it. Commissioner Brandon Marty?
I didn't
Not you.
but I'll tell you something, with all the money we're spending, on rebranding, why don't you just put an ad in the paper to the other towns to tell them to send us all their homeless, because we'll pay them to be here.
That's not the point.
I mean, that's exactly what it looks like to me. I don't like to have that kind of a sign outside that the homeless are welcome to come and stay and live here, and we'll pay you to do it. And then when you got to urinate, go out and do it against the building, because you ain't got a house to live in. I would never, never encourage this, especially when we're complaining at our police officers all the time. And when we took down Smith's building, and we paid ourselves to take down Smith's because of all the problems there. From what? Wasn't from our residents, it was from the homeless. Now we got a big empty lot that now will house 3 homes, but really 2 homes. And why? It was all for the homeless. So what is this, a double way of talking? You want them, you don't want them, you want to pay them? I don't want them here at all. But the ones we got, we live with. But it isn't a nice scene, and you want to upgrade the community with monies for what? Leave it go the way it's going. It's going right to the homeless anyway. That's the way I feel about it. I think it's a ridiculous thing to even bring up, to pay people that are throwing the trash down to pick it back up. I might get the job when I'm no longer a commissioner. Then I'll bring out a bag of garbage, dump it on the corner, go pick it up, make my minimum wage, and that's it.
Vice Mayor?
Okay. If we can, just for a second, I want to try and refocus on what I think was the spirit that was intended for this discussion, which was something addressing what comparatively is a small homeless problem. I know sometimes for some places it feels like a lot, but comparatively to our cities around us, it's a rather small problem. But it's a problem nonetheless, and it's one worth addressing. So while I agree with my colleagues that most likely this specific program may not be a great fit, I think that it's well worth the energy and the time for, and I don't know, Mayor, who you said you spoke to, whether it was the director or the manager, but whichever one, having them investigate what some other cities are doing and finding a couple that could be a good fit, and then kind of chopping that up and seeing what might work for us.
That's all I'm asking, is just to look into it.
Okay.
Not to do it.
Okay. All right. So I think that probably makes more sense for everyone. We'll look into it and we'll find something that's a good fit for us.
Can I have a consensus on that so we can move forward with the process?
Okay. So it would be, again, to look into how to address our specific homeless problem, and not specifically the specific program of homeless people picking up trash for minimum wage.
It's just
so
looking
not
at
that.
Looking at the other programs.
Looking at programs in general. Again, not picking up trash for money. Programs.
Right. There's several programs. There's several websites. All the information has already been provided to the city manager, and it can be distributed amongst a variety of team members to just take a look at different things and speak to other cities about how they're doing it, how it's working, if it's working at all. That's all. A few phone calls. Commissioner Harris, your agreement?
No.
Yeah, let's look at others.
Okay.
Not specific.
All right. Just look into it. It's harmless. Vice Mayor, you're fine with that?
Yes.
And I'm fine with it too, so that's 3. Okay. Commission comments. Commissioner Brandon Marty.
Finished. Oh, no, I have no comment. Oh, just keep the back away in your that's all. Our ex-mayor, longtime person here, not doing well at all. Not doing well at all, Charlie McElroy. So just remember him in your prayers, all right? Most of you know him. Thank you.
Commissioner Harris?
Sorry. Getting back to the travel policy that we were discussing earlier, many of you are still here, and I'm getting comments over my phone. But this conference is about infrastructure, innovation, and inclusion, which means we should welcome the chance to be considered to go, because I think it's a unique opportunity. And, you know, at first I thought one thing, and then I thought something else, and then I was told to follow my heart, and then somebody else said, follow your head. But as long as we can come to a consensus and be inclusive, that, you know, we are all blessed here in many ways, all of us up here. But it could all be gone tomorrow. So the divisiveness and the comments that I get, I think, are misplaced. I may be sometimes guilty of those myself, I'll admit it. But you know what? I can change my mind, because this is America. I mean, seriously. And when you evaluate the situation and, you know, have other conversations, that you can come to a conclusion that, yes, maybe it wasn't the right thing and that we should make a change of heart. So, no, I'm thinking like the conversation that we had earlier about the travel policy. I mean, we're all very, you know, a lot of the travel that I've done is for the League of Cities, and I was appointed to the League of Cities, and that's great. Some of these conferences are in high value markets like New York or Washington, D.C. This one just happens to be in Honolulu. It's a little farther. We have to make the commitment to travel there. It's minimum of 12 to 14 hours of travel time with connections. And if you miss one connection, you are so screwed, because you have to start your day all over again. So think about it, everybody out there who has something to say about it. And, you know, I see many of my friends, and hi, Chris, people out there. But, you know, take a second look and see what we can gain from it. Not one person can go to all the sessions, but then we can go there together. And you know what? Yeah, it's safer. And, you know, we can, I mean, the patriotic sense of me says, you know, we can all go to Pearl Harbor and we can pay respects to people that fought for our country and be happy that we here in Dania Beach can live in a place where those people that sacrificed their lives made it a better place for us. So everyone, please reconsider your thoughts, and that we are going to do something positive with inclusion and come back and make our city better. Thank you.
Commissioner James?
Yes, thank you. I had a meeting today, and then I spoke with some of the staff to see if this was okay, and I'm not sure if this is okay, but I'm going to ask the commission, because this isn't typical protocol, and I didn't have time to do an addendum because it happened. But however, we have someone wanted to work with the parks to do an Easter egg hunt on Easter at C.W. Thomas Park. I've already done the due diligence to see if it could happen, but I do know that we don't have time to come back for another meeting for a special event approval, and so it will be on the 21st on that Sunday at C.W. Thomas Park. I know we have one on that Saturday at Frost Park, but this one will be on that Sunday at C.W. Thomas Park. I really want one day to really have it at all three parks, P.J. Milley, Frost Park, and C.W. Thomas Park, so all of our kids in all of the areas will have can participate in this if they so wish. So I don't know how to go about this, because I didn't want to send an email tomorrow and kind of get, you know, a consensus that way, and we're already here, so I'm not sure.
I'd like to send this to the city manager to address, since it's her staff.
My recommendation to all of you, especially that we're moving forward, aligning ourselves with best practices. The actual conference in Honolulu, some of the sessions are about best practices. I think when any of you guys have something that you want to bring forward, I just recommend that you have a meeting with me. And then I can bring the respective department director. I don't know if Director Brown is aware of this. Director Brown?
Well, I got notice of it today.
Okay.
We all did. It just came up today. I didn't have anything other than today, so I didn't even have the opportunity to really.
I think what we do is we get together, the commissioner, myself, and the director of the department, and we put a game plan together. But I think moving forward, what we should do is adopt a calendar once we adopt fiscal year 2020, and we have a calendar of events so we can plan our best events rather than planning things at the last minute. If this is the wish and the consensus and the direction for me to plan this for you this time, I will certainly make it happen.
It's not going to be funded or planned by. It's an organization that's going to come, but we're not going to pay for the bounce houses. We're not going to pay for the food. We're not going to pay for the DJs. We're not going to pay for the Easter egg or any of the candy. So that won't come out of our pockets or any expense of ours.
Through the mayor, if I may, I think, whether we're paying it or not, we want to support with any type of marketing, with any type of getting the word out, prepping the park before and after any event to make sure that we do it aligned with our standard and our brand. So we're here to work with all of you. And I know that some things come up at the last minute, so just want to, I will make myself always available, and I will bring whatever department director to work to make it happen as best as possible.
Yes, typically I wouldn't do this. I've never done this before, try to get an event like right before, but it came to me and it was an awesome opportunity for our kids, and that's the only reason why I'm bringing it up. Absolutely anything that involves our logo will be approved by staff, and the gentleman will be working directly with Director Eric Brown and his staff over at C.W. Thomas Park, and they just called me today, and so I knew that. I said, well, gosh, the next commission meeting is 2 days after, and so I just couldn't do that, and it's for the kids, and it's not for profit or anything like that, and that's the only reason why I kind of broke that, consistent.
Quick question for you. Is there a potential issue with liability? If there's bounce houses, things like that, I'd be concerned about issues of people getting injured and that sort of thing.
The bounce houses have to have a COI, a certificate of insurance liability, to even be on the park. So I'm sure that it's only going to be with the approval of the director, making sure everything is up to standard and code and no conflicts there, that I would even support this happening. If they can't get all that fixed up, then it can't happen. I don't know how you all feel about it.
Do you need consensus?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, I forgot that was yours. That's fine.
Okay.
You got it.
Okay, yes. ASA College emailed me, and they were requesting that I come to your dog? Oh. I'm requesting that I come to a graduation ceremony, which is going to be August the 9th at 4 p.m. I wanted to see if all of you all, because I told them I would be inviting my colleagues because I wouldn't go to a graduation that I was invited to alone. And so I am seeing if you all are interested in going there. I can get additional information, but this was just an email to me to see how we felt about that, or how do you all feel?
Just send it to us, have them send us the...
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, I had the opportunity to sadly and regretfully attend Steve Sarnak. He was our port director at Port Everglades. I worked for Port Everglades a number of years, and so I attended that ceremony, and so I am sending my condolences to him and his family. They have, I can't even think of his name, the current port director that has been assigned to those duties. I also just wanted to ask if any of us are being invited places or to grand openings or anything of that sort, that we either send the notification to the rest of us, because I would like to go and either visit the establishments, welcome them to our city, or whatever they have redone. But I was kind of taken aback when I knew that one of us went to a grand opening alone and no one else really knew about that. And as far as Super Bowl activities, I just want to make sure that we are really not missing the mark on the timing of things, because it's going to roll around really fast. And so I don't know if this could be a part of our discussion on the 19th or whatever we have planned, but to really not forget the great things that we need to do in that retrospect. So that's it for me.
Vice Mayor?
I got nothing tonight.
Okay.
Good evening.
Wait,
Milo, go to bed. I know he's watching.
Okay. I have just a couple of things. I also wanted to express my condolences to the family of Richard Feniger, who is a longtime resident out in Davis Isles and was very involved with the airport issues. My understanding is he just passed recently, last week, Tuesday, right? He was always very vocal and very involved in a lot of issues in the city, and I was sorry to hear of his passing. Last meeting, I mentioned that we were doing an event, a volunteer event at the Southwest Community Center, where there was a women's breast and heart initiative they were going to be bringing in volunteers, and they were going to be walking around neighborhoods, knocking on doors. I wanted to make sure people knew they were coming. That was last Saturday. Well, it went off without a hitch. The first day, this is going to continue through the month. They had 49 volunteers from 3 different counties. It was predominantly students. I stopped in, it was predominantly students. But they were very excited about it. It was people that had done it before, people that were new at it. They did a whole training session for the groups, and they set people into groups with a team leader who had done this sort of thing before and had the familiarity with everything, but then they also trained everybody so they knew what to discuss when they did knock on doors and talk to people. They had packages of items to bring to people to educate them as well. I was also told that they knocked on 482 doors in Dania Beach. I don't have the total yet of how many people they actually did speak with, but they did, in that process, sign up a number of women to come on the last Saturday of the month for some pre-screening services that they're going to be holding there as well. So in any event, they're going to have more volunteers, probably different volunteers, on Saturday the 13th and Saturday the 20th, again at Southwest Community Center. If anybody wants to volunteer, show up at around 8:30, and they will get you set up for this. It seems like a really good cause, and it doesn't cost us anything. It's just a matter of just them having a space to get set up and train people. They were very excited to be here. They have not done this in Dania Beach before. They had another such event going on in West Park at the same time, and they do this all over the Tri-County area. So it's something it's very helpful and educational. They'll be targeting a different part of Dania Beach next week. This time it was Collins area and a little further east. And then I don't know where the next one's going to be, but they're doing different parts of the city each time. And the last thing that I want to talk about is I had a meeting with our new sheriff, BSO sheriff, Sheriff Tony. He had invited all the mayors from Broward County to attend. And a number of people did show up. And his staff was there as well, and also Broward League of Cities made an appearance. And basically, it was an opportunity for us to ask questions and for him to tell us what his vision is. He's going to be doing these meetings every quarter. I will tell you that I was very impressed. He has a lot of plans for the future. He is talking to people that haven't been spoken to before, is what it sounds like to me. He's actually they're putting together a memo that they're going to send around to all the different, you're probably going to get one, about different funding sources, so that it's not just the cities that have to pay for everything, and not just the county, but also other funding sources. A number of different grants that he was talking about that we just haven't taken advantage of yet. He spoke about, hold on one second. Talked a lot about SROs and schools, and there are some programs that they're doing now that it's like a real-time crime center where they basically have access to cameras in the schools, and they're starting it with a few different schools in the county where if they get a phone call and there's a crisis or there's something going on, they can look right into the cameras in the schools and watch what's going on. So this way they can see inside without having to go in, and so this way they know where to go in. Commissioner Brandon already mentioned something early on tonight about being concerned about our staffing of our police in the future. That's something that I actually specifically addressed with him. One of the things that I explained to him was because, we do know there's a shortage all over the country, not just here, of police officers. And we've had problems in the past with being able to recruit and get staffing here. But one of the first things that I said to him was, and he knows Dania Beach. He's already been here once or twice. And I said to him, we have Dania Point that's coming in. We're going to have a substation out there. We've got, there's going to be a need with all this more new development and additional people coming into the city. We need to make sure that we can staff that substation. And he talked about recruitment efforts that they're making. They are thinking outside the box, not just doing your standard recruitment, and some fast-track training for certain people that are qualified, military personnel, that sort of personnel as well. So there's definitely some good things coming, and we're going to try to follow up on these issues on a quarterly basis and make sure that they're actually happening. But he's going to meet with the school board as well and talk to them about the different issues in the schools, so we can make sure all the kids are safe. There's a lot going on with it, but as it progresses, we'll see where it goes. But it's definitely it looks hopeful. It looks like we're getting somebody who's listening and helping out, and I think it's going to help our local police as well. He had all good things to say about our Dania Beach police force, and as did I. So we definitely, there were some issues with training and things like that we talked about as well. So if there's concerns that somebody has, please feel free. I'm happy to take the information there and share it with him. That's about all I have. Thank you. Appointments. Commissioner Harris and Commissioner James have appointments to the Airport Advisory Board.
I just want to ask a question about the advisory boards, because I know I spoke to a resident who is a longtime resident and said some of these advisory boards might be sunsetting. So do we know the effectiveness of all the boards, and can we ever get a report back from the board chairman as to what they're doing, what they meet about, what they talk about, what their attendance is? To see it, because it's getting increasingly harder to get people to volunteer on the boards, but how do we know what they're doing? I don't. Do we ever get a report from the boards?
Do you ever go to any of the board meetings?
I haven't since I was on several of them. I have not.
Yeah, I mean, I know I occasionally will pop into one or two here and there if I have time just to see what's going on, but
like for example, on the Airport Advisory Board, which I used to be on, I mean, what exactly is their core mission, and what are they doing now, and how are they succeeding in their mission, and what are their attendance records? Because I mean, one of the meetings that I was at, I specifically remember they were talking about their oil filters on their car getting clogged with dust. Seriously. And it's valuable because the airport issues are ongoing, but could we ever get a report back from the boards that we are appointing people to as to what they're doing and their mission? Because I don't know.
City manager?
Do you know?
I think that's actually a very good idea, Commissioner Harris. One of the things that I just turned over to our clerk, when we have these meetings, when the boards have the meetings, there should be an attendance taken. And somebody should be taking also the minutes. And I think that if we ask them to turn that information over to our city clerk, we will be able to let you guys know which are the boards that are up and running, provide you with the minutes and the attendance. Some boards may need to be sunset as others come forward, because of a need.
I think this comes up quite frequently on the commission. Commissioner James?
Yes, just to add on to that, there is an attendance record that is always taken, and I know that they take minutes in those meetings. Okay. And I can remember a couple of years ago, I cannot remember specifically when, we did request that quarterly each of the boards came to the commission and provided a report. Do you remember that?
I do.
It's just never happened. So I don't know how to regulate that, but it's already put in place. That's supposed to be happening. I've seen the Marine Advisory Board here, and I've seen the Creative Arts Council Board here, and the Green Advisory Board was here, but that's it. And it was one time because they were requesting something, not necessarily because they were just doing the report, but but it is in there somewhere. I can't remember if we passed a resolution or what it was, that they come quarterly to address us. And so then we will really be able to be informed in seeing what Commissioner Harris is talking about.
Commissioner Brandon Marty?
I know that Tom it was always able to tell us, city manager, whether our person attended meetings and how many they missed. That is how we replace dead wood. So yes, we do get that. When we're asked, do you want to keep this person? Then we say, did they go to the meetings or did they not? He's always been able to give us the answer. But on the last commission, we did ask to get reports so that we knew ahead of time whether we should be dropping somebody or because of their absenteeism. Because what good is it if we give you names and then no one shows up, right, Mayor?
Right, no, I agree. But
Yeah.
I know it used to be on the website.
Yeah.
There used to be a place where the minutes would go.
Yes.
But it looks like a lot of them are really old, and it doesn't look like there's anything updated recently.
They aren't.
No, so maybe that's a requirement, because maybe they may not be able to come to these meetings necessarily, but maybe we could make a requirement that they do have to upload their minutes on a certain date, so at least this way we can look and see what's going on.
It's actually the city clerk's office that's responsible for uploading those minutes. It's just a matter of getting those from the staff liaisons.
Okay, so you're not getting it from the different boards?
Sometimes it can be problematic, yes.
Okay. Is there some sort of a resolution or something that we can pass that requires them to do this? That'll do it?
Yes.
Okay.
Mayor,
Yes.
to you, listen, I don't understand something on the airport advisory board. We still got it. The airport's still there, by the way. The planes are still there, and so is the South Runway. And the noise mitigation, right? Don't they get reports from someone that we hired to give them an update on houses? Is that all over with, or is that still ongoing?
Ron Book is the person who is the primary person dealing with that. I think in his last report, he provided us something with regard to the airport, but the airport advisory also has other issues that they're dealing with. Simply because the airport's there are other things that do come up.
Who's helping them is my point. That's what I want to
I'm
know.
not sure.
Who's helping Malaluka and the other people?
The contact person is supposed to be Ron Book or his office.
Does he send reports to
It's another person.
to the advisory board president?
I know it comes to the city, but maybe Mr.
It's
LaFerrier
another
can help us
person.
because he's involved.
It's another person that he has the information.
Who is it, Mark?
Mark LaFerrier, Community Development. No, in the past, we did have a couple of representatives from the outside that were assisting the city. Ron Book and Ian Castro did that.
Right.
But those contracts specifically for that work, I think, have been over for a while. So the Airport Advisory Board meets probably closer to a quarterly basis, maybe every other month. And just as an update, the sound insulation program and the conveyance and release program,
Yeah,
which is the payment
the
that's
car.
made,
Oh,
the car.
okay.
The county expects all those homes to be done by the end of summer, and they're on schedule for that.
But that doesn't mean that we should not have that airport advisory board, because that's going to be ongoing, and they're probably going to even put another runway sooner or later, more sooner than later. But at least when Ann Castro was the liaison between them and us, we at least found something out. They're talking about people not being on the board. I'm talking about never getting an update anymore since that's taken place, and she's not involved. There's been no updates at all. I think once we forced Ron Book, am I right, to come here and update us, but I think he has his own problems now, so I don't know.
Commissioner, if it makes you feel better, we're going to be seeing Ron Book tomorrow in Tallahassee, so we will speak to him about it.
Oh, are you going to Tallahassee?
Yep. So we'll speak to him about it there.
I have a wait before Mark leaves.
Wait, there's
Yeah, I just don't want him to leave.
Okay, but I'd like to know who's working with Malaluka specifically and the other residents out west there, so that we got updates too, because we really don't have any updates. And that's not fair.
No.
We paid big bucks to that man, very big bucks. He's one of the highest paid people there is. I know it's true.
Well, Mr.
The
LaFerrier is
lobbyists.
also on the Part 150 committee.
Yeah.
As is, we have also a resident that's also on the committee.
Yeah, I think the responsibilities on behalf of the city have sort of shifted. There was a long tenure where the city was fighting the airport,
Yes.
fighting the south runway.
The worst.
And, the county prevailed, the FAA prevailed, the runway's there. And then there was making sure that the sound mitigation programs were implemented properly.
Right.
And I think that latter task by the board has been pretty successful because the county has expedited that process significantly in the last year and a half. It really sort of stuttered initially, if you remember, and you had complaints here.
That's
and
when the new
everybody here
man
got a lot
took
of
over,
calls.
right? The
Yeah.
new man took over,
Yeah.
and so he was more workable for you and the
Absolutely.
residents, right?
Absolutely. So the two tasks that are now underway with the airport is the Part 150 study,
Yeah.
which a consultant has come in from the county. They prepare a new noise exposure map that determines where the future noise exposure will be from the runway operations
The south runway
and the north runway.
and the north.
So they project out how much operations they're going to have, what kinds of planes will come in, and they project then what type of noise will be impacting our communities, not just Dania Beach, but the other surrounding communities. So the county just completed their first comment period. They have a second comment period on this study coming up in the fall. So the Airport Advisory Board reviews that information, reviews those documents, and then makes comment back.
Mark, have you ever gotten a report from Mr. Book?
Yeah, if you recall, Mr. Book came, I can't remember what it was, but
In
probably
3
about,
years, one time.
I think it was in the last 3 years that he
Yeah,
attended
one
a
time.
commission
But
meeting.
have you, when he doesn't come, which I understand the lawyers and all, they don't come, but have you gotten any updated reports ever from him?
I don't think I don't know if he's still tasked with that or not,
I think so.
with that responsibility.
Mayor?
I would say as the member, as the staff member that is most involved with the airport, that there really isn't a role for him at this point.
Then why are we paying him?
I think there's other lobbying activities that he's involved in.
All right, he doesn't just
Much
handle
more
the airport, he handles a
significantly.
number of other lobbying issues for us. So, okay. Commissioner Harris?
While we're on the subject of boards, I think, we talked about invitations to certain events and grand openings, but maybe the chamber president could come here once a month and give us an update on
Yeah, Randy.
openings, new businesses, and, give us just a, brief report once a month. Because I know from talking to Mark that, things are turning over, there's new restaurants coming in and stuff, and would just like to know.
And we may even be able to give her some pointers, like when we did about putting a survey in these hotels. Was that ever implemented?
I don't
Do you
know.
know, May?
I don't know.
I did ask though, right?
I remember that.
Yeah,
Yes.
I asked for a survey to be put in these hotels so we can find out where we're not carrying the torch. In other words, we got to know what we could be doing wrong. We're not perfect, but the people, the tourists that visit here can put notes. You know how you leave a note in a room? Some have been really bad, but I mean, you can leave a survey. And I asked to have that survey done months ago, 2 months, I believe. Was it done?
We don't know. Commissioner Brandemeier, in the future, though, could you please push your button? You didn't push it.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought it was pushed.
And Commissioner
I'm sorry.
James is waiting.
Apologize.
And Commissioner James is waiting.
One
go ahead.
second. I just wanted to know, it was a gentleman that came here from the airport that kind of addressed us and gave us a report. And I don't remember who he is, but I know you know who he is.
Yeah.
If possible, if we are wanting reports from the airport, do you think, I don't think he would have a problem. He was here willingly. He spoke to all of our residents. He gave out all of his information. I'm not sure how it happened after that, if it was just for show or if it was really beneficial. But maybe he can be the one to give reports because he was working with the county, correct?
That's a very good observation. It was Mark Gambrell.
Yep.
He's the deputy director of the airport.
The new man.
And, I think he would be available if we wanted to invite him, and he would be able to
Right.
really provide you a good update
I-
as to what's going on in the airport.
I think that would be promising or very informative and helpful to this commission if you want to, if the mayor wants to assign a certain time when he comes.
Well, I'm sure we could work something. He can come to a meeting and discuss it with us. But I don't think he's the only one that really has all the information that's going on that the Airport Advisory Board's dealing with. I mean, I know there's a whole FAA thing that's going on right now where they're doing these studies and not just here, but all the Tri-County,
Metroplex.
right? And that's coming up. There's something about that that's coming on. I get these things all the time, and I send them to the city. So I send them to the city manager, and then it gets sent to the appropriate people. But there's a bunch of different things that are going on with that. So, and then there's also not just the Part 150, but we've also got issues with the the north runway is going to be closed in June. Yeah. That was in the paper. So that's going to be closed in June for like months. So everybody that's impacted by the south runway is going to be impacted by that. And there are a number of residents, some of whom are in the audience right now, who do not have the windows and doors that were provided. So that's an issue as well. But I mean, there's a number of things that are ongoing with the Airport Advisory Board. So as long as we have an airport, I think we probably need an Airport Advisory Board. Maybe we don't need as many people on it, or maybe they don't need to meet as frequently. I know they have trouble getting a quorum. That's one of their biggest issues. So that might be something that we can look at in the future.
You know more about it than we even knew.
I pass it along. I pass the information along. So I'm assuming no one for Parks, Rec, and Community Affairs either, Vice Mayor or Commissioner Harris? No? Okay.
There was a person, Commissioner Harris. Do you want them?
Yes, I want Randy to come here.
There was a form that came through. Do you recall the name of the person?
I do not, but I know that the clerk's office has their information because I tried to assign them and they told me I had no vacancies.
Commissioner Harris, you have a vacancy. Claire Frost has resigned. That's why you have a vacancy. Commissioner James, you do not have a vacancy.
Yes, can you give
There
them
were
that
some
one?
forms submitted for consideration for joining a board, so can I get back to you on that?
Yeah.
And then we'll have to get an approval at the next meeting.
Yeah,
But there were
correct.
several forms that came through, the online Civic Plus system?
The online,
Yep.
board and member interest forms, yes.
Okay, I have them, I just don't have them with me.
Administrative report, City Manager?
Yes, Mayor, good evening. So what I provided here for you is key updates and information for you and as well as our residents. A couple of things that I do want to touch upon is thank you all for making the time. We have a Parks Master Plan workshop that is scheduled for April 18th from 10:30 to 1 p.m. We also have on April 19th from 11 to 2 another scheduled workshop that's going to discuss the compensation and classification. And you will be discussing your commission budget as well as travel. In some of the key updates that we have here, we also are providing you our monthly business tax licenses. So I know that this is something that was very important to several of you. You can welcome these new businesses to our city, but it also is on the record for all our residents to know all these new businesses that are coming to the city, and you will be provided that information on a monthly report with a backup from all the different departments giving you key updates. And that concludes my report.
City Attorney?
There's going to be, we will be receiving a report tomorrow from a specially hired structural engineer on the Dania Beach Grill. There is a concern because of the awning. There's a huge awning that supports that all the people sit under. That could be at a point where it's unsafe for people to be there. In addition, the electrical panel may be overloaded to such a degree that it may be unsafe. It's conceivable that we'll get a report tomorrow that the building official may be compelled to determine the building is unsafe and it must be vacated. That would be a last resort, as you well know. We're mindful of what all the people that came to you that one meeting talked about, wanted to be there. It's on a month-to-month basis. But if it's a matter of safety, safety will be the first thing that we do, as I know you would all want us to do. And we would do that with great reluctance. The building official was reluctant to do this on his own until he had a structural report. We have a meeting tomorrow at 11 o'clock. We'll see whether or not he'll have to call it. And then in that event, we may have to close it and do the best we can to get it back in running. That's it for now.
Commissioner James?
Who's responsible for the awning? Is that the city or is that the tenant?
That was something that the tenant put up years ago.
Okay.
Not them, but their predecessors.
Okay, so the tenant has to maintain
Yeah,
that? Okay, great.
City's responsible for the building, the roof, the walls, that's it. But even,
Okay,
we're finding there might even be some issues with that as he's begun his study, so it could be more serious. This building is 50,
Ancient.
it's about 70 years old.
Ancient.
And it's been on the ocean, as you know, so.
Okay.
We'll report back to you. Thank you.
Okay, City Clerk reminders?
Meeting reminders, as the city manager stated, on Thursday, April 18th at 10:30 is a city commission workshop on the Parks and Recreation Master Plan. followed by the next day on Friday, April 19th at 11 a.m., a workshop on the class and comp study and the City Commission budget. I would remind you that your April 23rd regular City Commission meeting has been canceled. Your next regular commission meeting is Tuesday, May 14th at 7 p.m., preceded by a CRA board meeting at 5:30 on that same date, May 14th. I skipped that, I'm sorry. That's all.
Okay, with that, we're adjourned.
Go ahead. I am too. You know who's doing so good, Bill? Hi.